that perspective lacks compassion for the difficulties of their life. So when your own life inevitably gets challenging and you wind up feeling just like the people that you've judged before, you're going to probably want to hide that fact to avoid being a hypocrite. So that forces you to pretend to feel and be something you're not in order to live up to your own judgmental standards. And that's how judgmentalness of others can kill your own authenticity, because you're afraid of being a hypocrite. Now, to be clear, that's not to say that you can't recommend that someone suffering gets help or that you have to condone destructive behavior. It's simply to say that you can also have compassion and understanding when people make mistakes. You can recognize that everything you judge out there in the world also exists in some form inside of you. So you don't need to go around acting superior. In fact, that's counterproductive. If you can avoid judging others in that way, you will naturally feel more comfortable sharing the parts of yourself that you might consider shameful. And when you can do that, you can really tap into the authentic charisma that comes from that openness. Now, authenticity is a deeper topic than it may seem. It's not as simple as saying, just be yourself and then doing it. In fact, that advice is usually good, but is useless in practice. There has been one resource, though, that has very much influenced me when it comes to authenticity, and you can get it for free, courtesy of our sponsor for this video, Audible. And I'm talking specifically about Radical Honesty by Brad Bland. I've gone through this now about 3 times. I've been recommending it like crazy because each time I get more out of it and it influences my behavior every single time. So if you want to check that out today for free, the link in the description, www.audible.com/charisma, will get you a free audiobook with your subscription to Audible. And if you know that you want to stick with Audible, you can get the second button on that page, which is a special promotion up until February 18th that gets you nearly half off for 3 months of Audible. That's 3 audiobooks that you will essentially get for half off. Now, I would personally recommend A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle and Loving What Is by Byron Katie if you want to get some really great stuff on becoming more authentic. Both of those have been huge for me. But either way, with Audible, you can listen to a massive library of audiobooks no matter where you are. In addition to an audiobook a month, you will get 2 Audible originals each month, which are titles that are exclusive to Audible. And if you ever get one that you don't like, you can exchange it for free with no questions asked. So this is a great alternative to reading for those times where your eyes are busy. So for instance, if you're commuting to work and you added the habit of just listening to an audiobook, or to school, wherever you're headed, you can usually finish a book a month without having to add any extra effort or time to your life. And that's obviously an awesome perk. So if you want to check out Radical Honesty today for free, you can do that with your subscription to Audible at audible.com/charisma. Also, one other announcement, the foreign language channels that I announced way back are in fact up. I'm going to link to them beneath this. They are Hindi, Arabic, and Mandarin so far. We might be adding others. Thank you so much to everyone who reached out and applied to help us run those. Now, whether you sign up and you're interested in those channels or not, either way, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.
Graham Norton has what many people would consider their ideal charisma for 2 reasons. 1, he doesn't need to hog the spotlight in order to shine. And 2, he seems to have the ability to make anyone like him. From rock stars to movie stars to professional athletes, people from all walks of life seem to love being around him.
By the way, this is the best time I've ever had on a talk show.
So today we're going to talk about a 4-step formula that Graham uses to make people love him even when he teases them, and how you can use it to make yourself both funnier and more well-liked. The first thing that Graham Norton does with every guest on his show is create a warm, positive connection. Graham uses 3 main elements very early on to establish this warm, friendly vibe between him and his guests. The first 2 are smile and touch. What I like about Graham is that he reads his guest's body language and calibrates his touch based on what he sees. Check out this clip where he greets Josh Widdicombe with a handshake and Jeremy Renner with a hug. When we talk about touch, we often get asked, what if I'm not comfortable hugging? I think this handshake is a great example of what to do. Graham gets a handshake, a pat on the back, and a pat on the shoulder, all in the span of just 2 seconds. The third element Graham uses to create the warm, friendly connection is he compliments based on accomplishment. This will become very important in a minute when we talk about how to tease someone and get them to laugh about it.
Tom Hiddleston, University, have you had any bad reviews? No. They make a man feel good, Graham.
Notice how Graham Norton focuses on compliments based around something you've worked hard to achieve. Remember that the goal of giving a compliment is to make the other person feel good.
Just a couple of months ago, there you were, Wembley Stadium, 90,000 people, broke Sky box office records, showed in 140 countries, world heavyweight champion beating Vladimir Klitschko. I mean, it's an incredible achievement. I mean,
Complimenting your favorite actor generically by saying, Tom Hiddleston, you're awesome, isn't going to make him nearly as happy as specifically complimenting him on the craft he's worked for years to hone. By using a warm smile, calibrated touch, and compliments based on accomplishment, Graham creates a very friendly vibe almost instantly. This is a super important foundation to lay, but if this were all you did, you'd have a lot of people fairly lukewarm on you and not a lot of people clamoring to hang out with you again. That's where Graham's second step really helps out. He uses humor and laughter to make the other person feel joy around him. So much of what drives human action is ultimately just the pursuit of happiness and pleasure. When we find something that makes us happy, we want more of it. And two very quick ways to create happiness in someone are to make them laugh and to make them feel like you get them. Graham is excellent at using a wide range of vocal tonality and emotional expression to get a laugh, even when the words he's saying aren't necessarily funny. Watch how Will Smith and Toby Jones react to this simple sentence.
what happened there?
Here's another quick example. His lines don't seem like much, but watch the reaction he gets from the couch.
Most of it's CGI arrows, so that they can fire fast and do all that stuff and do things that are.
But I can fire a lot of arrows.
A lot of arrows, yeah.
I mean, I
don't miss,
but it
man.
must be quite tiring. I mean, you're constantly
Now imagine if he had just said, that's a lot of arrows. No one would laugh, but by using big gestures and moving your voice up and down in pitch to emphasize your point, you can have people in stitches.
Some of my drink.
No, because it's one of those stupid games. You'll punch me.
But Graham's greatest skill might be laughing along with someone else's joke. Watch him lose it after Mark Ruffalo takes a dig at Josh Widdicombe here.
Josh, what are you up here? What are you afraid of?
Well, I was going to go with flying, but I think I'll go with...
Girls over 12?
Flying, but I think I'll go with...
Girls over 12?
He's just so good-natured. He laughs a lot, which makes him fun to be around, and it makes other people feel good around him. This is a skill that is hugely overlooked. When you laugh at someone else's joke, you make them feel like you're listening to them, and you make them feel like you get them. If this is something you want to get better at, I recommend watching a wide variety of comedies. Watch improv shows, stand-up, and don't laugh challenges on YouTube, and find what makes you laugh. Don't multitask and distract yourself from it. Spend at least an hour a week watching things that make you laugh out loud. Over time, you'll find yourself laughing out loud more and more as those neural pathways get reinforced over time. As someone who used to take everything in life very seriously, I know firsthand that laughter and happiness are habits. And the more you can cultivate that habit, the happier you'll be and the more people will enjoy being around you. Because Graham Norton interviews 3 or 4 people at a time, he needs to be able to make his guests like him while spending more time listening than speaking. By smiling, touching, and laughing, you can create really positive feelings towards you while saying very little. Now, another thing worth pointing out is that Graham Norton is not dealing with normal people. He is interviewing the biggest movie stars and athletes on the planet, so they can sometimes be difficult to connect with or difficult to open up. That's where Graham's third step comes in. He uses teasing and self-deprecation to get everyone on the same level.
Clark, who cares? Yeah, your sensible shoes. Who cares?
Playful teasing is what we do in our most intimate relationships. If you think of close family members and friend groups or even romantic relationships, most of them involve playfully giving each other a hard time. If you can effectively jump into this type of humor early on in a relationship, you immediately create a much more familiar feeling between the two of you. This is one of the biggest reasons why Graham's guests are so laid back on the show. It's hard to be uptight when you're cracking up laughing while somebody teases you. As an example, here he is teasing Elizabeth Olsen about her role on the Avengers.
So you're just going... picture of you doing it without the special effects, and you're right, it's not. Even Jeremy Renner was really unimpressed. It's like this woman's fleeing for her life.
This is a dangerous type of joke to make because it can easily be confused with putting someone down. But Graham avoids that by keeping it light. He wasn't teasing something core to Elizabeth, like her acting skills. He's simply poking fun at a silly pose. The two rules to keep in mind are don't attack someone's identity and don't tease something that is both unchangeable and important to them. Teasing someone is not the same as insulting them, and it should make the person laugh. Look at this clip with David Beckham, for example.
This one, okay, what was going on here?
That was maybe a bad decision.
Graham is teasing David's past haircut, which is a completely changeable feature. And since Beckham is a well-known sex symbol who has literally won People's Sexiest Man Alive award, it's a safe and funny joke that they can both laugh at. Going back to the example with Elizabeth Olsen, there's another important factor at play. This was around the release of Avengers Age of Ultron, where Elizabeth was playing a starring role in one of the biggest movies of the year. Graham even compliments the movie earlier in the interview.
It is terrific. They've done such a good job with this movie. People will not be disappointed. It's just fantastic.
By starting with such a sincere compliment, Graham has established that he liked the movie, which sets the stage for him to be able to tease little things without offending anyone. Here's another example of grounding your teasing with a compliment with heavyweight boxing champion Anthony Joshua.
Fascinating. I think we've got a still of when you slipped. You can see the position I'm in now. Yeah, I mean, no, obviously there's some water there. And
Look at how hard Anthony Joshua is laughing there. How is Grant Norton able to tease him about being knocked down without upsetting him? It's simple. 20 seconds earlier, he praised him very heavily and sincerely. And it's a fight that Anthony won, so he isn't sensitive about it. It also helps that Graham delivers a jab. He says it with a smile, laughing, and an upbeat tone. We've all been burned by the guy that takes a jab at us without smiling or laughing, and it feels totally different. This goes back to the point earlier. Don't be a jerk. Don't say something out of malice or dislike for someone. Whoever you're teasing should be laughing along with you. Now, if you forget to slip a compliment into the conversation and happen to tease someone before thinking of it, there is another way to keep the conversation fun and funny for everyone. And that is with a self-deprecating joke. Here's an example from Graham.
are you from New Zealand as well?
No, I'm from Basingstoke.
Great ear.
It's funny, and it also isn't a huge put down. The joke isn't that he's a huge loser. He's actually just acknowledging what everyone else has already started laughing at, which is that he botched where she's from. By occasionally teasing yourself as well, you're showing that it's all in fun and that you aren't actually attacking anyone. This creates an atmosphere where everyone is on the same team and laughing together. There is no in-crowd versus out-crowd dynamic. Watch as Graham puts it all together while promoting X-Men First Class. He starts off early in the interview with something nice.
But here's the exciting thing. All three of the men also appeared on Empire's Sexiest Man of the Year poll.
Then he puts them into a funny and awkward spot by making them guess where they rank against each other.
I'm going to be humble. I'm going to say last.
And you're right.
He doesn't.
Now, James McAvoy could feel a bit of a sting here, although it turned out he ranked 16th sexiest man alive out of 100 potential celebrities, so he's probably not hurting too badly about it. But watch how Graham softens it even further a minute later.
Where were you? Where were you, Graham?
I was at home reading it.
Between the early compliment and the joke at his own expense, it'd be hard for James to be upset at Graham right now. One quick word of caution here, don't make yourself the butt of every joke. The same rules apply when teasing yourself as when teasing someone else. By combining achievement-based compliments the person is proud of, playful teases, and self-deprecating jokes, you can tease people while they laugh and love you for it. The last thing Graham Norton does fantastically that really endears him to people is he listens very intently. He speaks much less than most talk show hosts, instead guiding the conversation, jumping in with jokes when he sees the opportunity, and mostly letting the stars do the talking. Watch how he asks a question, makes everyone laugh, and then stops being goofy and becomes very focused on listening intently.
I read unusually, as an actor, you negotiated, you lobbied for extra nudity.
Trying to sell the film, Tom. Not that romance, are you?
Well, you know, gothic romance it's about sexuality. It has to be sexy. And there is a love scene in the film.
One of my favorite authors, Dale Carnegie, wrote, "To be interesting, be interested." Especially once you've got them laughing and feeling like you're someone who is a joy to be around, the people you're talking to will really value your attention. Listen to how Graham asks this next question and watch his eye contact, facial expressions, and gesticulation. There's a real sense of genuine interest.
Because you were the same. You worked when you were very young, didn't you? You were on sets and stuff.
Letting someone talk and share while making them feel listened to can be an incredible experience for them. And there you have it. There's obviously a lot more that you can do in a conversation to make someone like you. I think the biggest thing we haven't touched on today is the best way to actually share things about yourself. We can do another video on that later if you'd like, but I think what's amazing about Graham Norton is how he doesn't say much about himself, yet his guests and viewers adore him. And when people love being around you, they'll eagerly want to meet up with you again and connect with you on a deeper level. Last but not least, I have a special offer just for you. Do you shit, shower, or shave? Well, Dollar Shave Club is hooking our fans up with this awesome and hilariously named Shit, Shower, Shave Starter Pack for just $5. It includes shave butter to prevent razor burn, this delicious body wash, and Charlie's One Wipes for after you poop. Yep, Dollar Shave Club has you covered from your face cheeks to your butt cheeks. And my actual favorite part of the package is their executive razor. It's got 6 blades. It's a great shave. They give you 4 replacement razors. You can get the whole thing for $5 at dollarshaveclub.com/charisma. And I switched to Dollar Shave Club because I'm a lazy razor shopper. I would let razor blades get dull, shave my face with them, break out in razor burn. It's not a good look. Dollar Shave Club prevents that. Also, some awesome news. Dollar Shave Club obviously sponsored this video, which is amazing because Charlie and I have been saving up to invest in more animated videos, a videographer to follow us around and videotape him and I actually interacting with people and using what we teach, and a full-time video editor so we can get you more breakdowns like this one. So if you shave and you want to support the channel, please go to dollarshaveclub.com/charisma, and it will let us get you more animated videos, some footage of Charlie and I, and it will help with more breakdowns like this one. So thank you. We really appreciate you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.
Dave Chappelle may be the funniest man alive.
I'm Rick James. Enjoy yourself.
With 3 consecutive Grammys to his name, it is safe to say that Chappelle's humor works. If not for literally everyone, then at least for the vast majority of people. So in this video, we're going to explore what we can learn from Dave's admittedly difficult to imitate style. And even though getting to Dave's level might be impossible, there are 5 core building blocks that anyone can use to immediately become much funnier. One note, we are of course covering Dave Chappelle. Some people will find his jokes offensive. I'm going to bleep some of the profanity, but you've been warned. So to our first point, Dave regularly plays several different characters. Some of these he's made famous on the Chappelle Show.
Game. Blouses.
Dylan, 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 and Dylan. Because I spit hot fire.
But even without the benefit of a full costume, you see Chappelle adopt different characters as he tells stories in his stand-up routines. Here he is talking about meeting Kevin Hart with his son, and his son comes across with this voice like an adorable nerd.
What's up, Dave? Come on back. I was just about to have dinner. I don't know if you guys ate, but you're welcome to join me if you like. And then my son pushed past me some cold shit. He goes, actually, Mr. Hart, we haven't eaten in several hours.
Now, we have covered this before, but it bears repeating. When you're telling stories, adopting the tone and mannerisms of a character maximizes the value of your punchlines, and it even makes the setups funnier. It's an easy principle to adopt, and most comedians take advantage of it.
Girls get drunk, man, and they don't even know what they're talking about. They think they do. Hey, guess what? You didn't even know, you know what it is it?
Now, you know when you get smacked when you're a kid, you get hyped. When you get by yourself, you gonna smack me?
You're telling me someone who never hit a woman is gonna come walking and read that joke, you know, just be like, wait a minute.
So obviously this is something you're going to want to do when you're telling a joke or just trying to be funny. But it's not only when he's playing a comedic character that Dave's tone changes. Part of the reason that his normal speaking and storytelling is so captivating is that he doesn't speak in monotone. You can hear him emphasize different words and add different tones when he's speaking just as himself.
Stand-up comedy is an incredibly American genre. I don't think any other country could produce this many comedians. And unbeknownst to many people in this audience, so tonight, I am honored that my colleagues are here in comedy and in music.
But for us, we were trained to care. We were raised that way.
Again, this point may seem obvious, but if you've listened to a recording of yourself, chances are you don't have nearly the same dynamics as Dave. Your tone doesn't change, and neither does the cadence or volume with which you speak. So one piece of advice to immediately improve any story that you're telling, especially if it's humorous, is to speak as if you were reading a book to a 5-year-old. Get into it, let yourself commit, and be silly. Most people overestimate how dynamic they sound, so this simple adjustment often will push you in the direction of more engaging storytelling, which is critical if you're going to get anyone to laugh. Now, our third point is something every comedian wants and that Dave has perfected over the course of his career: timing. For instance, here's Dave talking about meeting O.J. Simpson. Now, these aren't necessarily huge laughs from the audience, but notice how Dave gets them without even having to tell a joke.
And then, through all the gawkers, familiar face pushed through the crowd. Here he was again, the juice.
Imagine those simple lines read aloud by most people, someone without good timing. There would be no room for a laugh. But the pregnant pause plus Dave's tones creates that humor, and there's no punchline necessary. Similarly, you have this iconic moment that may only make sense if you've seen Sticks and Stones. And in this clip, you can notice how the silence at the moment of maximum tension drives home the punchline.
Don't ever forget what happened to that French actor. You know what I'm talking about? Juicy Smouillet. He's a very famous French actor.
He's talking about Jussie Smollett, for those of you who haven't seen the special. Now, comedic timing is a complicated beast, and it's interwoven with tone as well as body language. Breaking down every application would be impossibly complex. But one simple element of timing that anyone can use to immediately punch up their humor is to leave more space than you're used to in front of the punchline. Most people rush what should be the moment of maximum tension and the highest mystery, essentially neutral. So adding a bit of extra silence usually makes the delivery that much harder. For example, the context of this next joke is about when Dave was an elementary school student watching the Challenger explosion on live television as a schoolboy.
Right on television, everybody on board, dead, immediately presumed dead. It was so bad the teacher looked at all the kids and was like, "You can go home."
Now, this principle of adding silence to create tension will absolutely enhance your jokes, but it can also enhance every aspect of your speaking. Particularly when you're telling stories, allow yourself to slow down at the moment of maximum mystery. This requires you to be strong at commanding attention, something that we cover in the Kevin Hart video that I'm going to link below. But you can see a normal application here as Dave builds mystery and takes a brief pause during his acceptance speech for the Mark Twain Award.
Raised me and raised me well. We had a real oral tradition in our house. I knew the word griot when I was a little boy. A griot was a person in Africa who's charged with keeping the stories of the village. Everyone would tell a griot the stories and they would remember them all so that they could tell future generations.
Now, like Dave, you can take these building blocks, character, tone, pregnant pauses, and do a lot with them. And that takes us to our fourth point, and probably the most common joke type that I see from Dave Chappelle, the fake out. It's when he uses his tone to create the expectation of one punchline and then hits you with a completely different one. For example, in this next video, Dave is talking about the tragedies of gun violence in America and how it needs to stop. Watch your own expectations to see how you think he's going to end things compared with how he does.
And you know what we have to do. This is a fucking election year. We got to be serious. Every able-bodied African American must register for a legal firearm.
That is the comedic fake out. His tone and language took us down one path, he pauses at the moment of maximum tension and then goes the other way. Here it is again as Dave leads us to believe that he's defending his reputation as a sober professional on stage.
It's on TMZ, the big headline, Dave Chappelle drunk on stage in Detroit. Well, if you saw it, I wasn't drunk. I had smoked some reefer with some rappers.
And here's one more example for good measure.
I live in Ohio, and anyone that knows anything about Ohio knows that even the word Ohio is an old Native American word. It means literally land of poor white people.
Now, in labeling these jokes as fake outs prior to you actually hearing them, I may have killed the humor. But if you've watched the specials, you know these are genuinely surprising and laugh out loud funny moments. So learn to do the same. Use your tone to set people up in one direction, pause briefly to build suspense, and then go the other way. It's a comedic staple and one that you can use in just about every situation. And perhaps the best fake out that you can use in your normal life is to lead in with a serious and literal tone to an obviously silly and false punchline, like here. And for context, Dave is defending the art of stand-up comedy from cancel culture, something that we assume he cares deeply and seriously about.
So true about this genre, when done correctly, that I will fight anybody that gets a true practitioner of this art form's way, because I know you're wrong. This is the truth, and you are obstructing it. And what I really wanted to say tonight, and I'm glad I get the platform to do it, I'm gay.
Obviously, in most conversations, you're not going to go this far, but consider the literal to comedic fake out as something that you can just use more often in normal conversation. For instance, if you're meeting someone in a social environment and they ask you what you do for a living, you can, with a serious tone, make up a silly job like a professional box ball player and then riff on why it's so stressful in a serious tone. Now, the point here is not to trick anyone. Eventually, you're going to drop that joke and give the real answer so that you can connect on a deeper level, but it should introduce a more relaxed and fun vibe to the conversation early on. Now, before I get to the final mindset, I have to highlight just one of Chappelle's joke types, which is really hard to imitate well, and I'm going to be honest, I don't have a great tip for integrating it into your own life, but it's just worth highlighting. It's the comedic simile, and here Dave is using it as he talks about R. Kelly.
This guy makes more sex tapes than he does music. He's like the DJ Khaled of sex tapes. Another one. Like, damn.
This type of comedy is hard to imitate. To do it in real time, you need quick lateral thinking, and honestly, no single tip is going to take you there in the same way that repeated practice can. So if you want to get the hang of these kinds of jokes...
Do you miss the Chappelle Show?
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah, but the Chappelle Show's like breaking up with a girl, and you still like her, but in your mind, like...
Marcelo, it's so haunted.